Okay, here we go. We're getting rolled with Kansas. I want to talk about what they are primarily as a team. Just to begin with, they're a four-down football team. You're going to see that these four-down linemen primarily are going to rely on upfield rushing. Very rarely do they use any type of game, which would mean like a little inside twist or having a looper where he'll come out, he'll start up, and then he'll loop inside. Very rarely does that happen. You got to search a lot to be able to find it. It did show up a couple times in this game. A few times I think it was just by chance because of this player trying to get upfield and trying to find a way to rush. This player trying to find a way to rush. They just crossed each other. I only found a couple where it looked like it was planned because you can see a upfield start and then he comes in underneath. But there might have been some and I missed them as my eyes a lot of the times are on coverage. But, it's not very evident that they're running these twists inside or those type of things. Even on their blitzes, a couple times they may bring a backer and we may do something where they can spike an end or something like that. If they bring somebody off the edge, he'll spike. If they bring the nickel, he'll spike inside. But very rarely do these four up front run a lot of games. It's just kind of straightforward, use our body, use our speed upfield. Now, they do like to bring the nickel off the edge. You're going to see this. To just a little reminder of what the nickel player is. This is a substitution player. So if the offense was in two backs and one tight end, or if they're in two tight ends and one back, they're going to stay base. Base would mean having three linebackers on the field. Or if they're a 3-4 team, it would be four. But here with Kansas being a 4-3 team, there's going to be three backers on the field. When the offense takes a running back or tight end off the field and substitutes a receiver on the field, the defense will then take a linebacker off and they will substitute another secondary player. This is the nickel player. So when you hear me say they like to bring nickel pressure, or this is a nickel pressure off the edge, this is the nickel player coming off the edge and they can rotate down and they can play variations of man or zone out of that. They also will sometimes bring a free safety off the edge. This would be the strong safety here, the weak side over here. If they brought it to the weak side, that would be the free safety off the edge. They are primarily we're going to give you a shell coverage, and sometimes that's going to be combo, which means variation of one coverage to this side and another over here. They can play a man coverage to this side and a zone coverage over here, or they're going to get up and they're going to play cover one. And they're either going to blitz you, they're going to bring a five-man pressure, lock you up and play cover one, and that means there's going to be no player in the middle of the field underneath, just a safety in the middle. Or they're going to give you a simulated pressure, which means we're going to walk guys up. It's going to look like we're bringing pressure, but really it's only four guys. And then we're going to be manned up everywhere else. And there's going to be a zone player, a hole or robber player or wrap player, whatever you want to call it, there in the middle of the field. And we are playing man coverage. This is kind of a base synopsis of what you're going to get from this Kansas defense, at least in this game right here. They do a couple things different. In the Illinois game, we'll talk about those kind of at the end of this. But this is what you're going to see, and then they're going to make adjustments. This is what I believe is a quarters look. It's actually happening off of a check with me, and you'll get that a little bit later in a handful of videos in this same Kansas breakdown. But here, they have a motion, guys, so now there's nobody threatening me vertically to my deep quarter. So now I can walk in. I have a nub tight end. Just a reminder, nub tight end means there's nobody out here. The only eligible player to this side of the field is that tight end. So he can walk down in, and then he's just going to play similar to like a flat player here. Okay, there's going to be some clips on here that talk about the check with me process that the defense at Kansas goes through when the offense of their opponent does a check with me at the line of scrimmage as well. So you see this a lot of the times in college football. Offense is going to line up. They're going to get up. They're going to go through a snap cadence. And then they're going to look to the sideline and say, all right, what do you want us to do now? Sometimes they have no play called. It's just a formation. Other times they have a play called, but they'll go through a double cadence. And then what they do is they go through the cadence the first time. They look to the side of the field, and a coach will either give them a roll with it, let's stick with it, or he'll check to a new play. So let's talk about what Kansas does defensively almost every single time. It's called you check, we check. If you get up to the line and you go through a cadence and we have tipped our hat, we are not going to let you then call a play based off of what we just showed you. You're going to check to something because you think you're getting to a better play based off of what we just showed you we're bringing. Well, guess what? If you're checking, we're checking. So we're going to check to something else. So here, Nevada goes in their formation. They go through their cadence. And this shows they're going to bring that nickel pressure, right? It shows, hey, we're topping, we're capping, we're going to bring the nickel pressure. Safety's going to the middle of the field. This is likely that exact same man look we saw previously, where they're going to come down and play man, and then depending on which way the back goes, one of those linebackers has him. The other one is free floating. You can see it right here. There goes the nickel. You can see this player in his stand-up. He's getting ready for any route that tight end runs. He's going to match him and play man. All right, well, now we know what they're getting to, so now you see the offense. They're looking at the sideline. All right, what do you want us to get to? Look at this defense. All right, well, now what are we going to get to? If you're checking, we're checking. And I'm going to go over that on this next clip of what they get to. All right, so this is what they checked to. Remember that play I showed from the very beginning? This is actually that play where they showed that they were bringing the nickel, that they were going to rotate down, and that this end was going to play man with him. This is the look that they were showing. Okay, we're going to give you man. And they checked. Nevada checked. So now Kansas checked. They checked to a play with the motion. I believe that Kansas went to a quarters look, standard quarters look. And in this quarters look, because of the motion, now it ends up in like cover 6, right? Quarter, half, which means flat player, half player, quarter player. So if they check, Kansas is going to check. Same thing's going to happen. If we have a play set up, we're going to look over. We can get out of it. They can get out of it. Sometimes what happens is, let's say that BYU has a play on. This could happen. This is the chess match. Let's say we have a play on. And let's say we go through the cadence and it's a bad look. We can look over to the sideline, keep the same play on, because if they were blitzing into our run play or into our screen play or something like that we may not like, which I actually sometimes like throwing screenplays into blitzes. That sometimes is the best thing that can happen. But let's say it's something that we don't like. We can just look to the sideline, get them to check out of it, and we keep the same play on. That is part of the chess match that can happen in these games. Okay, like I said, they will get into some 3-deep zone. This is a variation of 3-deep zone that has some unique match elements to it, and also where they're using their weak side safety. So 3-deep zone, they're going to have deep third players. These are going to be the deep thirds player, but you're going to see this player matched up here, and you're also going to see this linebacker matched up on the running back, just like they're playing man back here. Now, what you're going to see from this safety, if it was a weak rotation, this safety would come down, and he would either insert, I'm going to actually get those lines out, he would insert outside of this backer. He would be the deep third player. This safety would be responsible for the flat. He would be responsible for the hook. Or you can get what's called weak buzz, which means deep third, as this player rotates down, he's actually going to insert inside of this backer. The backer becomes the flat player. He becomes the hook player. This is known by some teams in the NFL as 3-weak buzz. And what that is as they rotate, because this player is matched up and this player is matched up, if this running back runs out to the flat, he's going to match him with width. And this safety is going to come down and insert into this hole. But if you look at his eyes, look where his eyes are at. What he's doing is he is looking for any through crosser from the other side of the field. It's a little bit similar. Some teams that play quarters coverage versus 3-by-1, meaning we got 3 receivers over here. They'll play quarters. Some people call it a quarters trace or a quarters poach, like four trace. And what it is his eyes are going to be here, and he's going to be looking for any crosser coming from the other side of the field. So it's almost as if he's helping out this 3-receiver side with his quarters responsibility, so he'll actually get off that hash. And it's not uncommon when teams do that, is that they press the X, the single receiver over here, and it'll look like man, but it's a variation of cover 4. This is similar, but they're doing it out of cover 3, which means he's rotating to the middle of the field. He's going to come down, and like I said, he's looking for any player from that side of the field coming across the formation. So you'll watch it right here. As the ball is snapped, there's the rotation. He now is going to start to get to the width because he's the flat player, he's the hook player, but he doesn't have to worry about staying inside of a crosser because he knows that as he expands, if anybody crosses his face to get to the other side of the field, he is going to be caught up and matched by this safety that's coming down in a weak rotation. And again, locked up on the back. And here's this player helping the 3 receiver side from this side. 3 weak buzz. You'll see this again. There's a clip that I have from their game the previous week against Illinois where they're running the exact same look. It's a little bit different view because it's from up top. So this is another variation of the coverages that you might see versus BYU's 3x1 sets. It's a weak rotation. But as you can tell, they are using him to help on that 3 receiver side looking for any crosser. All right, I'm catching this kind of as the play's moving. You're going to be able to see that they are running in man coverage, but that they're bringing 5. Okay, they're going to have variations of this man coverage. What it's going to be is it's going to be locked up man, locked up man, locked up man. And when the offense uses a motion that takes a running back to width, you're going to see this middle player start to run with him. But there is nobody else underneath, okay? And what that means is they're bringing pressure. They're going to bring 5 right here. They're bringing 5. They're manned up everywhere else with the free safety in the middle of the field. Now, BYU utilizes these motions as well where we'll motion people out of the backfield. We'll also use a receiver from another side of the field and motion out, and you will see that player run with him. But I'm showing this clip because you're going to see variations of man coverage. This is man pressure because they are bringing 5 equals pressure. This backer that would be floating in the middle is adding on. Now, their man coverage, only at times will you see an outside receiver locked up like this. A lot of the times, they like to play a little bit more of off coverage in man like you see right here. So here's one little variation. On this next play, I'm going to show you how they're giving a similar look, but there's going to be an extra player in the middle of the field. Okay, so this is the other look that I'm talking about. I'm going to let the kind of clip play a little bit here. As you're going to see, now as this player, we're locked up man, 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 man. You can see how they're all off man. It's 2nd and 21. That could be one of the reasons why they're playing a bit softer. A little bit of a curious call in that type of down and distance of going man coverage, but it must be because it's something that they trust. You can see that as this offensive player goes in motion, the defensive player is following him. But this is the player that I'm talking about right here, this extra player in the middle of the field. This is a non-pressure look. They're only bringing 4 guys, okay? They're only bringing 4. Probably because of the down and distance. What's the need to bring 5? I don't want to put everybody on an island, right? If one guy gets beat, it could be off to the races. So I'm going to only bring 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this middle hole player right here playing zone underneath. So it's man coverage. Everybody's locked up. There's man. And then he's just reading quarterback size. So you have a free safety in the middle of the field reading quarterback size. He's reading quarterback size. The one thing that off coverage does give you, off-man coverage gives you the ability to peek at what the quarterback is doing. If you watch these guys' eyes, yes, they're on their receivers, but then right here, you start to see peeking in the backfield. You start to see a little peeking in the backfield, right? That little bit of peeking in the backfield helps on a play like this where Nevada is just trying to get the ball out in hopes that we can block somebody up, and they're hoping that they can just block somebody, make somebody miss. That's what they're hoping for, right? Just pick up something. But this is another variation of their man coverage that we will for sure see. When you start to see a player run on Saturday, check to see, are we getting an add-on blitz or is he hanging back and is he playing that zone wrap player underneath? We're going to get variations of this with pressure and without pressure. Okay, 3rd and 21. They're right on the fringe of Kansas red zone right here. And they're showing what is a double A-gap mug look, which means you have, here's the 4 down lineman. And then you have both backers are walked up in the A-gaps on each side of the center. So we call this like a double A-gap mug. Now, if they were to stay true to this look, if they were to bring this 6 players, that means they would only have 5 players here in coverage. That means most likely they would probably have to play some type of man coverage with the free safety sitting in the middle of the field. Not probably a call they're going to want to make on 3rd and 21 right here. And I don't know who the field goal kicker is for Nevada or any of that, but I'm just saying the likelihood is probably very slim. All right, so what you get, though, is you're going to get this. They're going to show like they're bringing pressure, then they're going to drop out. It's only a 4-man rush. Now, it's really difficult to see on tape here, but you're going to get a combo coverage. What a combo coverage is you're basically splitting the formation in half, and you are getting one coverage to one side of the field and a different variation of coverage to the other. Now, what they get over here is you're going to get 2-man to this side of the field on these two receivers, and then you're going to get that half safety over the top playing half. So this side, if I draw a line right like this side's going to get 2-man. Now, because this player's on this side of the field, you're going to see a weak safety come screaming down because he could have to take that player in man depending on what the route is. But to this side of the field, you are going to get a 3/2. Now, what that means is 3 zone defenders over 2 offensive defenders. They're playing like a 3 deep zone to that side of the field. But what happens as the play plays out, you're going to see as this player works across the field, this safety that works towards him catches him, and then you're almost going to get like a little bit of a box look here by the defense, the way that it plays out over those 3 receivers, 4-on-3. Now, whether or not, here's the question that I have, right? And I'm not their defensive coordinator, so I don't know the rules. My wonder is if this player runs a stick route or an out route, is he going to take him, and is this safety then going to come down and be involved in the 1-2-3 over 1-2? That makes sense. There's all these different things based off of routes, right? If this player tries to get on top of the backer, that backer should know he's got safety help coming down on top of him. And that's what I think he's anticipating right here. If that player were to try to slip him, he knows that he has this space. But if he were to break out, my guess is now he has to match him. And then that's where that safety gets involved in the 3/2. So combo coverage, variation. It has man elements to this side of the field, and it has zone elements to this side of the field. Now you can see the QB looks a little bit confused here, right? Not uncommon, because my guess also is the defense is trying to sort things out here. They're trying to play off of routes, right? It looks like he's passing him off because he believes he has a zone defender on the inside. And because he sees this back widen, he believes, well, now I'm going to go here, right? That's that zone space, and the routes are kind of telling me where I now have to go. But we will for sure see these combo coverages in some of these deeper down and distances because it is a part of their defense that shows up. They will pressure, they will bring man, but probably most likely not going to happen in 3rd and 21. But they do like to play off man and bring pressure. In this situation, I see it as one where they're saying, we're going to make the QB be smart. We're going to play a shell type coverage. We're going to man up these 2 receivers to the field with safety help over the top, and we're going to zone everywhere else. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit of their zone and some of the things that just kind of like my eyes picked up here or there. This is a three deep zone, right? So they're going to have a little bit of a weak rotation. They're going to press the X to the field. The thing that I wanted to make a point of in this clip is space, right? It's 2nd and 3. 2nd and 3. And if you notice, look at how soft these players are playing. Now, this is going to be the deep player. This is going to be the 3rd player. But this flat player, for 3rd or 2nd and 3, he is playing pretty soft, right? To me, there's space, right? And I don't know if it was because of what they were anticipating of almost like saying, well, the likelihood of them getting this first down is probably pretty high, and we're playing more to stop the drive, not necessarily this first down in particular. But to me, as they come off on their routes, this flat player is still soft playing on top, which they do a lot. And I'll make a point of that, is that when they get these 3 deep and you get a vertical stem from the receiver, this player sinks a lot and plays with space. So even though he's responsible for the flat, a lot of the time he's giving that flat to make sure that no seam is ran by him. And, some teams will do that here or there. They'll say, we'll drive on anything in front of us, but we're not going to come flying down if there's nobody in the flat right now to then potentially let you run by us. They want to see some type of flat presence before they make their way down into it, which at times is smart football. Now, here you can see, here's a little bit of flat presence. He doesn't react too quick. Like, in all honesty, if this ball is thrown out here on this little bubble, these are easy blocks for the first down. It's just a foot race from here to beat him. But there's space. And so I pulled this clip just because of the space that I see. The other thing also is the players that are in the bind. Here they're running inside zone. this player will have gap responsibility here, and he can be in a bind. So we'll be able to out leverage guys to that flat space. And if they're going to play soft, and we're going to be able to block people out on the edge. So there might be plays where BYU uses their run game on the inside, and they got a key defender. And if that defender is staying a little bit tighter to the box, or he has his eyes in the backfield, we'll outflank him with some of these type of bubble screens. Or what you'll see is you'll just see these hitches. And if Keaton believes that he can just take a quick hitch because of how soft they are, depending on how many people are in the box, it'll be a numbers count, but you may just see him catch this ball and rip a hitch out here because in some of their zone coverages, they are a bit soft. All right, I talked a little bit earlier about nickel pressures. This is going to be a nickel pressure right here. You're going to see him come off the edge. I want to talk to you about what quarterbacks can look for to kind of give them a key of when that could be happening. And then also something unique about the coverage that they play here and who they have guarding the tight end. So this is going to end up being a man coverage. But like I said, they're going to bring the nickel pressure. So what that means is this is the player that's substitute as a secondary player because we have a wide receiver in the game. And the thing that you look for a quarterback is you look for, some people call it capping, some people call it topping. But they're going to give what looks like a shell look here. And you're going to see this safety who's capped or topping this nickel player. And what you're going to start to see is you'll start a little move by him of him becoming a little more shallow. And then you'll notice that he will be inside the receiver, and you might get a little bit of a presence, a little creep. Now, as you move up in levels, there are some really, really good coordinators, defensive coordinators that'll do things that will actually have this guy be down a little bit, him be a little bit off, so it will look like, based off of the tilt, that the pressure should come from this side of the field. All they're trying to do is get your quarterback to have his attention there. And then they will teach this player, we'll have you on the line, locked up, eye to eye, like you were in man coverage. And then almost right before the snap, they'll even go so far as watching the play clock to see when the quarterback usually snaps the ball. And the defense, these guys are actually going off the play clock of when they do their rotation. And then really quickly, they will rotate like that, and you'll get that nickel pressure. But that's a really sophisticated look. This, you're just going to see him creep a little bit shallow. You'll see him start to move to the inside. Right there. This little move right there. As he comes down and he moves there. And you start to see, watch this. You see his shoulders? See how his shoulders are tilted here and he's almost angling that direction? These are all little cues that you can use to be able to see that, oh, this nickel pressure is coming off the edge. So they bring nickel pressure. Now here's what they do. They play man coverage. Now you're going to get like a 21-man rule, which means he's going to show press. He's going to turn and run, but he's still in man coverage right here. This safety's working to the middle of the field. He's going to come down and be locked up in man coverage here. Man coverage. They are going to do what's called banjo the back. Depending on which way the back moves, that back takes him. That linebacker takes him. And the other linebacker will be our hole player or our wrap player. There is a zone player in the middle of the field. Now, this is what's a little bit unique. These are their 4 defensive linemen. This is their defensive end, and that is who they are going to have match with the tight end in man coverage right here. So here comes the nickel. There's the pressure. The safety is going to come down and play man coverage because the back is working to this side of the field. That means this linebacker is going to take him. This guy will drop and be the hole player. And then now what you get is you get the defensive end locked up man on the tight end right here. So it's a man look, but it's not a true pressure. It's a simulated pressure because how many are they bringing? Only 4. It looks like I'm bringing the nickel, which would be 5, but we're dropping the end, so it's only a 4-man rush. Simulated pressure, and now they're playing cover 1 with a plug player there in the middle of the field. All right, here's another example of a you check, we check. Offense gets up, goes through their cadence. They're going to look at the sideline. To me, this right here looked like we were getting some type of either shell starting point, but potentially some type of rotation into 3 deep. But you'll see that as they look over, they're going to look over. Defense is going to look over to their side of the field. Look at all these players looking over, getting their call. All right, they're checking. So what are we going to check to? Now as they come back up to the line, we'll be able to see it on the next clip. All right, here we go. This is what they check to. So now they're going to rotate. They're going to bring edge pressure, and they're going to play man coverage. This defensive end, now we saw one look where he's guarding the tight end. Now he's going to be taking the running back. We're going to be locked up right there. This linebacker is going to be taking the tight end. And then you're going to have that hole player or rat player in the middle of the field. So they gave this shell that looked like potentially quarters, potentially 3-deep zone if they rotated. And then what do? All right, if you're checking because you anticipate we're going to be in zone, guess what we're going to hit you with? We're going to bring a man pressure. And so that's what they're getting right here. Here comes the safety off the edge. He comes off the edge. Here you can see the dropper then is going to pick up the back, free releasing to his side. And it's locked up man. And there's that free player, rat player in the middle. Man coverage right here. Now, they still find a way to win versus man coverage. They run a little sprint out, a little out concept with a crosser. Pretty easy. All you got to do is beat the guy. Remember I said this earlier in the clip. Sometimes their man coverage is soft man coverage. They're not getting up here and pressing that much. There are some times to the boundary that a guy will come up here and be pressed. But they tend to play a little bit of a softer man coverage. I mean, actuality here as well. We got slightly outside leverage on an out route, but because he's a little bit soft, he loses it, and they still win on the out route. Okay, I've shown them bringing nickel pressure and some of the variations of coverage that they can play out of it. Here you're going to get a dog. A lot of the times that term is used when a linebacker blitzes. Okay, so you're going to get this Mike backer is going to blitz, and then they're going to play locked up man. All the way on the outside. Here you can see that press to the boundary that I talked about. But you're going to get now a 5-man pressure. When they bring 5 men, that means they cannot have this free floater there. This player that you're seeing here is actually watching the running back. Now what he's doing is he's checking to see, is that running back chewed up in protection? Or is he still able to get out based off of the line? The line can make calls to be able to block themselves up, or the quarterback can check to a line slide that can block himself up. And then if the back gets out, he's got to take him. Now, linebackers will do one of two things. If this linebacker does get chewed up into protection, he can add on. Sometimes people call that the add-on. Sometimes they call it the green dog. Means if you block, I now dog. They call that a green dog. Or what they'll do is they'll tell this player, if you see him chewed up in protection, it is too late for us to add on. So now you become that whole player in the middle reading the quarterback's eyes. But again, this is another variation of them bringing pressure. You saw some simulated pressure where they would bring a nickel off the edge, but then they would drop the end. That's simulated. Looks like we're bringing 5. We're only bringing 4. In this right here, they have the 4 down linemen that are coming, and then they are going to add that linebacker dog. This is a 5-man pressure. This would be cover 1 blitz. Okay, they use this quite often. Here, nice little scramble because the back gets out. He puts a block on that guy. Remember, anytime everybody's locked up in man coverage out here, if that quarterback can take off and go, it can go for long gains. Just like this you see right here. This is a big pickup on 3rd and 3. Similar to Keaton's 3rd down pickup that he got last week. It was like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6, something like that. He took off in man coverage. Here, very similar. When you can take off in man coverage, you can really get down the field as a quarterback. All right, here's another variation of man coverage with some pressure here. Here's your 4 down lineman. We got a double A-gap mug. Again, you can see up top, they're matching the point and playing what looks like in-out. So I'm going to break this down into pieces. I first want to talk about what's going on up here to the bunch, okay? You're going to hear what I call stack opposite, all right? What stack opposite means is the player that is manning the point guy in this bunch look. It can be 2 by 2, like 2 receivers or 3 receivers. The element of what this is the same. Okay, and what that is the man that is matching the point is not actually going to be taking him. They're giving the illusion that they are going to match the point and then play in and out with these 2 guys, meaning whichever receiver runs the outbreaker, he takes him. Whichever receiver runs the inbreaker, he's going to take him. The way to beat that, double in, double out. Whatever concept, 2 people going out, 2 people going in, and us running off this point player. So they're giving you the illusion that that's what they're playing, but they're not. They're going to play opposite. So what happens is this player is actually going to take the furthest man inside. He's showing you he's matching the point, but that's not what he's playing you. Can you see how he's matched up on him? He's going to take the outside player. He is going to take the point player. Now, I've heard a lot of different terms for this. I've heard top hat. I've heard stack triangle. I've heard all these different things. But what they're doing is they're showing you, I am going to man the point. That's what you think you're getting, but I'm not doing that. I am actually going to take that person in man coverage. He's got him, and this is the player that's going to take him. So that's what's happening over on the bunch side. Now let's talk about the pressure look. Because of that double A gap mug, they're going to bring one of the guys, all right? They bring one. The end peels with the running back. I believe this player thought that he was needing to run to the running back. You'll see his eyes. They simulate pressure. It's only a 4-man pressure. Watch when he first looks. He's looking at the back. Then he remembers if that back releases, this end is going to take him. So now he's going to be the green dogger, right? Now he's going to add on. So it's realistically a 4-man pressure. And maybe if this back went this way, this end, he comes, and now it is a 5-man pressure. But at the end of the day, it only ends up being a 4-man pressure because of the peel by this end. And maybe we don't even need to consider it a peel because of the number of snaps that we saw a pressure look where they were bringing somebody and he was dropping with the tight end or the back. This could be a similar philosophy here, but as that linebacker notices the tight end or the end has him, he's going to add on. So it's man coverage. Now, they have somebody open. The ball just gets to him late. They're running this little sit concept, which is a spacing concept. The concept they're running is actually a zone beater. So unfortunate that they're running this zone beater versus man coverage, but you have, we call this slant flat. A lot of teams call it dragon spacing. So this is a for sure zone beater, but you can still win in man. Beat him. Beat the ball to that player because he's so soft. But they don't. He's late. Almost a pick right there. Okay, here's that same nickel blitz that we've seen coming off the edge. He's going to come down. They're going to play soft man coverage again. Again, what are they doing to the boundary? They're playing a little bit more press. Safety goes to the middle of the field. But there's something that happens if you let this play out that you may say, why is there 2 underneath guys there? Why is there not just 1? Yes, they end up having 2 underneath guys. But one of these backers is going to be responsible for the running back. But as you can see, he is in a scan protection here. What that means is, or at least he believes that that's who he's got to be responsible for, which it is. And you're going to see this little bit of a game, which this is what I was talking about. They're going to bring that nickel off the edge. Watch as this player will loop inside, all right? That's all part of it. This is one of the rare occasions in this game that they did this. But what they're going to do is they're going to bring this pressure off the edge. The O-line, that means that our O-line is going to be accounting for these players in the box. Sometimes what happens is this running back, the O-line is probably going the 4 down to the mic, okay? I like to draw these triangles, 4 down to the mic, right? That means my back is probably dual reading from the Sam to the nickel will here. So what he's doing is he is seeing the Sam's not coming, so now I'm going to scan my eyes backside. When I scan my eyes backside, I can see that player. So what do running backs look for? Just like quarterbacks, they should notice this. Why on earth is this nickel capped with a player walking down right over the top of him? Red flag's got to go off. That's because he's probably coming off the edge. So the running back's got to be looking for that as well. When he sees this change in levels of the safeties, and that guy working that way, is he capping a nickel player? Because if I'm in a scan protection, which means I got to go to the other side, I got to be aware of that. That's exactly what happens. So he scans on the back side. He goes over there. Because the linebacker is in protection and not on a route, you end up with these 2 free-floating guys underneath. They're not in a position where they want a green dog. This is not something where they're saying, oh, I'm in man coverage and my back is blocking, so I'm going to add on. Here, they're being taught to, if your back stays in protection, we want an extra underneath hole player. So now it's man coverage everywhere with these 2 extra reading the quarterback's eyes hole players or wrap players underneath. All right, I just want to show this little variation. Yes, they play man coverage, but it is not the only thing that they do. You've seen they played quarter, half. You'll see they'll play that 3-week buzz where to one side of the field it ends up a little bit playing out like man because it's matched to the single receiver and the running back. They will also play combo coverage, which means you can get a variation of man to one side of the field, zone to the other. But this is kind of your traditional towards 3-by-1. You're going to get a traditional 3 buzz, which means these are our deep third players. Here, your flat player is going to be your nickel. He's going to be the flat player, and this safety right here inserts in to be the hook player. He'll be the flat player. This is the other hook player. This is a pretty traditional 3 buzz, and now they are just playing with free access on the outside. It's 3 deep, and you have 4, and there's one more zone defender right here. 4 zone defenders underneath. Your standard 3-week buzz. The reason, again, I think I explained this in an earlier video, but I'll just say it again. If it was I just realized I said 3-week buzz. This is not. This is 3 strong, right? I just call it 3 buzz. But in rotation 3 strong, what that usually means is this nickel player is going to play the apex right here in between them, and then this player will rotate down to be the flat player. But in cover 3, you see 3 buzz more than you usually see cover 3 strong because of the 3 receivers out here to this side of the field. A lot of the times cover 3 is going to be in a 2-by-2 set. And then this player will be inside here, this nickel player. So when the safety rotates down, he just rotates down here. The reason why teams like to use this buzz, or what some defense call a hole coverage, is because it already puts the nickel out there. He's the flat player. Now this safety can just insert down into that hole and be the buzz player. 3 buzz. People say it's because the safety buzzes down. Other people say it's because the nickel buzzes out to the flat. Either way, this is a pretty traditional coverage to a 3-by-1 set playing a 3-deep zone coverage. They will get into this. And like you see Nevada take advantage here, it's free access. This flat player is paying too much attention to the running back. He's not expanding enough. He stays inside the tackle box because of that. There is no flat player underneath this out route. This is a gimme. This is an easy to take. Just throw the out route and take it all day long versus this 3-deep zone coverage. All right, this is good to take a look at as we just broke down a 3-by-1 offensive formation, a coverage that Kansas runs to it. Here's another variation of coverages that Kansas runs to it. All right, this is going to be a quarter, half coverage, but you'll hear the term palms. Some teams will call this palms, or some teams call this mini. But basically what it means is I'm going to get a flat player here. I'm getting a half player over the top. I'm going to get press on the outside, but it's going to be press bail. Press bail, and he's going to be a quarters player. This quarters safety is going to be in a triangle over these 2 receivers. And what that means is he will play high and on top. He will play outside the 2 receivers, and one of these linebackers is going to run from inside out, and he is going to play inside. And all they're doing is they're playing this little triangle over these 2 receivers based off of whatever combination of stuff that these guys run. So you'll see it as it plays out. This is that double A gap mug we talked about. Here's your 4 down lineman. Here's your 2 linebackers walked up in the double A gap. There's a little bit of a hint right here. You can see he's deeper than he is. So here they go. They show it. They both run out. He's got the further distance to run, number 44 does. He's going to run with eyes, and he's looking at these 2 players to see what combination of routes do they get. And you can see this player, he's got eyes inside, saying what combination will these 2 players have. There's the press bail up top because he's going to eventually get to quarters. And there it is. You can see that triangle right here over the top of these 2 players. So you're going to see this. Now, it's a little bit interesting to me that right here, I think that he assumed this player was vertical, this player was an outbreaker, because he overruns him when he gets his eyes back on the quarterback. Okay? Usually, he's going to run, and then right here, he's going to start to settle just a little bit, looking the posture. Is this an in-breaker? Okay, if so, I might try to get hands on a little bit. Now, it doesn't have to be my responsibility if he's running vertical up through that seam because I have a quarters player and I have a half player. But I still think it's a little yet unknown what exactly he's going to do. So he overruns him just a little bit. If this player were to snap it off and come right back in this hole, it would be there. But just talking about the concept defensively, they're going to run that triangle over those 2 players. Here you can see the triangle. Now, whether he's coached up like I thought, who knows, right? I have my thoughts and theories of what they're doing, depending on if he felt like this was a vertical through the seam. Like I said again, he's got a quarter safety and a half safety. That's not going to be his responsibility if that guy's running through there vertically. And maybe on their team, they don't coach him to get hands-on right there in wall. They may coach him to expand more because of the space out here that then this receiver can utilize. All those things are always kind of up for debate. The same thing happens in offensive meeting rooms, quarterback meeting rooms. You're looking at the coverages and you are trying to put them in a category. I see this as blank. I see them as running quarters here with this triangle. I see this, I see that. But you do not know exactly what they're being taught in terms of what do we do based off of what the routes are. All of those things have a determining factor into how these defensive players react. And so those are the things that a lot of the times you're left unknown with a little bit. You have rules that you believe in offensively of what you believe they're being taught, but they have their variations. They have their wrinkles, just like offenses have their variations and their wrinkles as well. All right, we've seen some nickel pressures on this tape. This one's going to be a free safety pressure right here. So here you got your corner. There's your nickel. There's your strong safety. Now you're going to have your free right here that's going to walk up, and he's going to come free off this edge right here. They do, again, normally what they've kind of done. You can see them being pressed to the boundary. They're also there up top. A lot of the times these safety looks, it's either going to be a free safety zone dropping pressure or they're going to play man. With how much man these guys have shown when they bring their nickel off the field, I'm guessing that this free safety off the boundary the majority of the times is going to be a man scheme as well. I haven't watched all of their games. I watched this game against Nevada in its entirety, and I watched the first half of the Illinois game. But you'll see a lot of times in those 6 quarters that I've watched, when they're bringing nickel or safety pressure, majority of the time it's all man. And so here you can see this look walking down. He's going to be coming off the edge. Now, if this is the pass game, a lot of the times, offensive line is going to be responsible for the 4 down, and then they're going to have basically a direction. Maybe it's the 4 down in the mic. If that's the case, a lot of the times this back is going to scan Will to nickel Sam. He's got to know that if this free safety comes off the edge, he may have to abort and go get it. If it's a play action, a lot of the times the O-line is not going to account for this backside free safety. So let's say it's a play action run, and let's say BYU is selling play action run. If you've ever wondered why sometimes the back just goes hauling over here, the quarterback turns and there's no running back to fake it, and then he turns around and sets up for the pass, it's because of this. If it was a play action pass right here and they bring the free safety off the edge, that running back is responsible for aborting his run fake. He can't do this. He's got to abort the fake, and he's got to come back, and he's got to pick up that free safety. All right, while we're talking about secondary pressures, here's a wrinkle that showed up in the Illinois game that was not used in the game against Nevada. You're going to notice that this corner and this safety's creeping really close to the corner. The corner's up in press, but his eyes are inside. These right here are signs that we're going to get this corner blitz right off the edge right here. When you start seeing the safety creeping off this hash and also being somewhat shallow, those are signs. Also look at the body posture of this guy that he's going to be coming off that edge right there. So here you get the corner blitz. And when that corner blitz comes, they're playing a zone look behind it. At times, other times, it's going to be a man look. Here, I believe it's it's a pressure look that ends up being man, and that this is going to be the hole player. He's responsible for the running back. There's the pressure. But that because of the reaction of the run, everybody reacts quickly. But outside of that, you're going to see it's locked up man coverage outside of it. They have variations, but here it's a man pressure corner blitz. I just want to give one more look at that corner blitz because it was a wrinkle that they used periodically throughout this game. As you can see the depth of the safeties. This player's a little bit shallower. Also in relationship to the hash, he's way outside the hash, closer to the numbers. He's pressed up and you're on the boundary. All these indicators that this could potentially come. Now, I would almost bet that if this person stayed in motion, I think during the game as I watched it, they would communicate with each other of when it stayed on and when it came off. There were some clips that based off of some motions and different things they did, I believe they called it off. But in this case right here, because he motions back, I think what he's doing is he's reminding him right here, hey, you're on still. And because he's on still, here that comes. There's the pressure. Now, this is something that you see teams do when they get a corner cat is they do a walk-off. They walk off to throw that. That's all the reason why they're hitting this right here. This is probably meant to come back this other way. I'm not sure. It looks like a built-in run with potentially a swing screen over here. And maybe this is something that they worked on where they said, hey, if you know you're getting corner cat, even on this run play, look where this guy's eyes are. This guy's eyes are here. This could have been something where, going back to week 1, they may have had boundary corner cats, and this is actually a counter play that is RPO'd with the walk-off. That could absolutely be this. They're going to run the inside counter. The quarterback's eyes, instead of being on this side of the field, which would make him throw this bubble, he's putting his eyes over here, which makes me think that if he gets the corner cat, he throws the walk-off. That's the RPO on the corner, and instead of giving the counter into a corner cat, he's going to throw the walk-off. All right, I want to throw this clip on here just to finish because I referenced it earlier in the Nevada game, I believe. I was talking about their red zone defense, saying that they do have clips of playing quarters coverage down there in the tight red zone, and then they went and played like a man bracket scheme. I just wanted to give a clip that showed this is a quarters coverage down here. They're in 3-by-1. They're going to show you this shell. They're going to stay in it. They're bringing no pressure. It's a 4-man rush, and they're just going to stay in this quarters look, which, look, if you stay in quarters, there's space. A lot of the times they're just trying to play like a little top hat over the top of it, trying to not let you get behind them, but also recognizing that they have the end line of the end zone behind them helping them out. Some of the things that you'll see teams try to utilize are like double post concepts where you can use somebody to kind of pull down this flat defender, and then you try to work off of this quarter safety where if you can get him to push in, you can have some type of delayed post to hit up here. There's a lot of different quarters beaters down here in the red zone. And sometimes that's why teams don't just want to line up in it all the time and say, well, when we get down into the red zone, we're a quarters team. They use variations. They like to sprinkle in their man coverage. But I noticed a lot of the times they start out in this shell. If they're not starting out in the shell, that means they're not being shy. They're just going to say, we know that you know we're in man coverage. And then that's when they like to bring that pressure. And then they'll drop one player out. They'll bring the 2 backers. They'll show like they're bringing a bunch of pressure. They'll drop one guy out. He'll have eyes on the quarterback. That's what I've seen up to this point in the 6 quarters. I hope you guys enjoy the time that I put into putting this together. I think there's more clips in this week than there were last week, so it's probably a little bit longer of a tape. This is going to be a good matchup going into their place, playing this defense. Again, you don't see a lot of variations, a lot of twists and games from their fronts, like from their front linemen, but that must mean because they trust them with their upfield rush and also how they handle different gaps in the run game. I do think that they do a good job in their scheme, and anybody that plays man coverages are confident in the guys that they have. Defensive coaches do not want to be in man coverage if they're not confident in the guys they got on the back end. The amount of man coverage that they play shows the confidence they have in their players, and this should be a good matchup.